What's going on, guys? I got another manga review for you, and you know how I just love to torture myself with stories that go on endless hiatuses and just don't seem to end, you know, because I got Berserk in there and Vagabond I started. Well, I joined the Hunter x Hunter train, and I don't regret it, though, because I just finished the anime series, and I just made a video, actually, about the Chimera Ant arc and my thoughts and feelings on that. Check that video out if you would. But I just finished the series not too long ago, and I gotta say, I did not expect to like it as much as I did like it. You know, I'm enjoying the show, and I thought it was great. I actually love the first arc. Like, I don't think it's, like, a lot of people say that it's slow and it takes too long and yada yada and the good stuff is coming. I actually think the first arc is really, really good. But as I'm watching through it, I'm like, this show is just really addicting. Like, I don't know what it is. It's like there's some kind of like cocaine injected straight into the prints of the show, and then when they glaze over my eyes, I'm just like, need to see the next episode like really fast. And so I'm just binging it, and I don't know, man. Like, it's in my top 10. I don't know where it ranks. You know, it's not in like the top 4 or 5, but it's definitely in that second half, pretty high. I became a definite fan of this show. And honestly, if you are a fan of just writing or storytelling or making stories or anything like that, I seriously 100% recommend watching or reading Hunter x Hunter, just simply because of the absolute creativity and just subversion of expectations, and just the way to write a story that is unique and different in every single like segment or arc. Has its own like particular set of rules and things that the characters have to abide by. And sure, there is a decent amount of exposition going on, and I know some people like don't like having tons and tons of exposition, and there are those moments, but once you understand what they're talking about, and you don't even need to understand why the exposition is happening, because as you watch the story happen, like for instance, learning Nen and how all that works, that basically like the energy, you know, system, the magic of the show, the power system, however you want to describe it. It is one of the most innovative, complex, and intriguing things I've ever seen in any anime as far as the power system goes. It's so unique to every single character. There's not like one character is the most powerful and the other characters don't stand a chance whatsoever. It's more so that just like every battle that happens is unique and intricate, and depending on the circumstances is what character may come out on top. So it doesn't really have to do with what character is stronger or what character can release more energy. It has to do with the type of ability it is, how they use it, how they manage it, where they're fighting, and just like how much goes into it, how much intricacy goes into just the fights in general. And you know what? The fights aren't even the biggest part of Hunter x Hunter. There's actually not nearly as much fighting as I thought was going to be in this series, because it's a shonen series, yeah, and I knew it was the creator of Yu Yu Hakusho, and which I love, and so I was expecting something along that lines, but it really goes so much more into depth into character and storytelling. And like I said, each story, each arc you get like a different set of rules. Like, even though I didn't really love the Greed Island section, the fact that we already had all these like rules and how Nen works and how that's set up, and we learn that and we go through an arc with that, and then we're thrown in the Greed Island, and now, yeah, there's Nen, but now there's also these cards that work, you know, they basically get thrown into a simulation of game. I'm assuming if you watch this video this far in, you've seen Hunter x Hunter, so I'm doing that spoil or anything. I'm going to spoil this fucking volume here in a second. But, yeah, so you go in, and now you have to learn all the rules of these cards and how the game works and everything. They get sucked into this game, which you find out isn't actually a game. They're just on some island somewhere. Anyways, it's really cool, and I just was blown away by it. I just didn't expect to like it as much as I did like it. So, obviously, finishing the anime, which doesn't finish the manga because it's ongoing and goes on endless hiatuses, I wanted more. I needed to feel my addiction. This was not enough. I need more drugs, because everyone knows once you start a drug, you need more and more to get that high again. And I needed more Hunter x Hunter, so I ordered a few of the volumes. They're really fucking cheap. Way cheaper than the other manga I'm reading right now, but unfortunately there's only 5 volumes to read before it's up. So, so volume 32 is the first one I got, because that's where most people are saying this is where the series leaves off. So volume 32 is where it picks up from where the anime series leaves off. But volume 32, minus the last chapter, is about the last 3 or 4 episodes Hi, is about the last 3 or 4 episodes of the series. So basically I'm kind of reading over what I already watched, which is fine. And there's a couple of things I have to say. One right off the bat, and I know that I'm going to I'm going to get a little hate for this, but I just got to say it, and I'm sorry. And it actually was one of my reservations of getting the manga to begin with, is that I'm not the biggest fan of the artwork by Yoshihiro Togashi. Just because a lot of the times he leaves off a lot of detail. They're very simplistic drawings. I mean, it's a style in itself, and I can't draw that good. I can't draw at all. He is an artist, and he has his own style. But that's the thing, is that the style itself wouldn't necessarily be something I would gravitate to unless I had known the story of Hunter x Hunter already and had already been invested. If I had just seen the artwork to begin with, you know, I wouldn't necessarily be drawn to it, but I'm biased because I've been reading stuff like Berserk that is just like so detailed and realistic in its drawing scope, or Vagabond, like I started reading. So going from that to seeing Little Gon's face like that, so simplistically drawn, was a little jarring, but I got over it, alright? I got over it. It's okay. I still love the series. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about how I initially felt about the drawings. I got into it, and once you get into it, once the story gets going, and, you know, I just love these characters so much that it just didn't seem to bother me very soon after that. And there are actually some moments where he gets really, really detailed with the drawings. I think it's like, it really depends on the mood, because there's this whole sequence here where one of the Chimera ants is talking about how he was as a human and whatnot, and it's just like chicken scratchly drawn. But then there's also stuff with like Leorio here. I'm not really sure where I can find an image of it, but it's like really detailedly drawn, or like this cover image of a Luca there. So it's kind of it kind of decides, I guess, based on the mood of the chapter as to how much detail to throw into the drawings, which is interesting in its own right. So this covers the last couple episodes of the anime, so I get to kind of share how I feel about that. And basically the whole idea is, you know, they're electing a new chairman because Netero unfortunately passed away, and he was such a badass. I love Netero. And I love how Leorio, my two favorite characters are Hisoka and Leorio. And I love how Leorio just inadvertently becomes one of the top 3 competitors to become the chairman, because there's this group of Zodiacs that are like next in line, they're like the chosen ones, whatever. But Leorio just comes along and punches Gon's dad, Gene, in the face. And we know Gene's been pretty much an absent father, an asshole this whole series. Basically, Gon has, since the very beginning, has wanted to become a hunter just so he could find his dad and talk to his dad. And his dad keeps leading him on these like wild goose chases, like, here, go there and do this, and then you'll meet me. And then go there and do this. Go to Greed Island. Go meet Kite. Yada, yada, yada. Just like sending him all over rather than actually sitting down and talking to his son, which is what his son really, really wants. And when you get to the end of what's happening here, where they meet each other on top of the World Tree, you kind of get the sense of what Gene's idea was, like what the idea behind what he was making Gon do was. That does not stop him from being an asshole. That does not stop him from being a horrible father. One of the worst anime fathers or manga fathers that I could think of. But the whole idea was, and he basically states it, and this is what the show ended on. And I was really surprised because when the anime series ended, you know, it went through this musical montage and it showed what all the other characters were doing at that point in time. And I thought that was just kind of like an anime throwing that in there because this is the end of the anime, so we're seeing what everyone else is doing. But actually all that stuff is in the manga too, where it kind of goes from character to character to see what they're all doing. And I thought that was an interesting choice because it really does seem like a finale of sorts. Like there's still a lot of open-ended stuff going on, but the fact that we go back and see what all these other characters are doing and are up to really feels like a final point. And it kind of wraps into what Gene is saying, because when he finally does meet with Gon, his son, he's talking to him about how, you know, the little detours along the way of what you're hunting for are actually the things that are really, really important. And that kind of encapsulates the series as a whole, at least of what the anime was, and I guess what the manga was up until this point, is that, you know, ever since the beginning, Gon just wanted to see his dad. That was his goal. That was what he was hunting for. as a hunter. But, you know, then he meets these friends, you know, Killua becomes his best friend, and Kurapika and Leorio, and there's that, and then he goes, you know, to learn Nen and to Greed Island, and then he deals with, like, the Khmer Ants and all this, and all of this stuff is basically as intense and interesting and cool and fun as it all was, as far as Gon's storyline is concerned, was basically a big distraction. You know, basically a detour. Basically things keeping him away from meeting his dad. And so that's why, even though the final episode of the anime doesn't really end things as a whole, it does kind of bring things full circle, because Gon finally does get to meet his dad, and they do get to have that moment with him explaining that to him. However, with all of the danger and horrible things that have happened to Gon, and just how much Gon idolizes his father, when the fact that Jean is actually pretty much an asshole in most respects, it does not take away from him being a horrible father. But it does put in perspective basically the whole meaning of the series up until this point. And that's kind of what it is. And again, when talking about writing and creativity and creating a story, the fact that you can take something like in this genre where you just expect things to go a certain way, but instead you just build this world and this universe, and you just throw your characters in it, and your characters aren't necessarily why this universe exists. You know, you're not the chosen one, you're not the descendant of some royalty, you're not some alien, you're not some, you know, half demon, you're not some, you know, amazing badass assassin that's given it up, and, you know, you are just, Gon is just a kid. He really is just a kid, and he's just trying to find his way, and he's just trying to find his dad, and he's making friends, and he's just doing this stuff, and all of these plot points and events and things are happening around him, but not because of him. He's not the direct cause of the things that are happening. The villains aren't out necessarily to kill Gon, and the villains really are just some of the best written villains that I've ever seen, like the Phantom Troop to begin with. Yeah, they do bad things, but they're such a, you know, unique, like, tight group of friends that just hang out and just enjoy what they're doing. And the Khmer Ants, I mean, some of them started off, you know, as generic villain, as I explained in my video, but then, you know, developed humanity along the way. And other than that, there's not really, I mean, you could say Hisoka's a villain, but really he's just kind of a occasional antagonist. You know, he's never been a direct major villain. And so that's what's so cool about it. And it's just because the world is so large and so grand, and these characters are just in there. They just live in the world, and things are going to happen, and they respond to it how they respond to it. And what's really cool is that they completely pull the lid off everything in the last episode, and say, yeah, you know, the world that you knew, that you thought you knew, the map, you know, seeing like the map of the world, and like that's what everybody knows, well, that's not actually the full world. Things have been hidden from humanity. This little map down here, yeah, I don't know if you can see it. This is what people believe that the world is, this little island here. But Jean is like, no, actually, if you follow the ocean far enough, there's this whole fucking continent, Dark Continent is what they're going to be calling it in the manga, where all of these fantastical things exist. That's where the Khmer Ants actually came from. That's where the world tree, the world's tallest tree, actually came from. And actually, this tree could have been a lot taller had it grown there. And there's monsters and there's other things, and almost nobody has ever come back from it alive. It's sealed off to humanity. Nobody knows about it as a whole. It's a big secret, a big conspiracy. And that's where the anime leaves off. And you're just like, what the it's basically just like, we're just getting started with this. And I can't imagine where it's going to go from here, because now Jean wants to make it to the Dark Continent. But he's not the only one. After where it catches up with the anime, there is one final chapter in this manga that sets things up for the next arc, where this guy, this motherfucker, who claims to be Netero's son, Netero, of course, the head chairman of the Hunter Association that died during the Khmer Ant arc, he's saying that he is Netero's son, and that he is assembling a team to go to the Dark Continent. So he basically, like, announces it to everyone, announces it to the world, essentially. And the Zodiacs are just like, what the fuck? You're not supposed to be able to do that. You're not supposed to be doing that. And they have this disc, I guess, that Netero sent them to say to watch if anyone ever comes out to claim to be my son. So, does that mean that this guy is not actually Netero's son? Or is there some kind of extra conspiracy going on? Maybe the trip to the Dark Continent is just a distraction for something else that he plans to do. Maybe that's just kind of to get people talking and gasping while he plans to do something else. I don't know. But also part of his team, over in the corner, we get Periston, which is the only character of his team of people that we recognize, at least I think so. And of course, Periston is a member of the Zodiacs of the Hunter Association, and he's the one that just likes to push people's buttons and play games. He's the one that during the election, you know, Gene said basically like he's going to try to win the election, but he doesn't really want to win. But he doesn't want to lose either. He just wants to keep things going as long as possible and have fun with it. Basically, just kind of, you know, playing the audience, playing up to it. You know, entering in that persona of I'm such a happy and politician. He's basically just a politician, motherfucker. And he wins the Hunter election, and then he immediately concedes and gives it to the other character, which I can't remember her name, Cheadle, the other character. And you're just like, what? But that's his game. And so what is his game with Netero's supposed son? You know, what is he actually going to plan to do? I'm not really sure, because this character still is very much a mystery. So I'm really curious to see what his involvement is, and I think his involvement will be more important than maybe even Netero's son to begin with. So we'll see that, and will Gon and Gene be trying to get to the Dark Continent as well? You know, that's a possibility. We're going to see what happens with that. I know that Kurapika is eventually supposed to come back into the story, finally. He's been out of the story for so goddamn long, and he's such a cool character, and I miss him, and so I'm really excited to get back and to see him again. But, you know, there is only 4 volumes left before I catch up, and so I'm going to try to space it out a little bit so I can prolong my enjoyment. But, yeah, I'll be in hiatus land with you guys soon. So, what do you guys think about Hunter x Hunter, either the end of the anime series or Volume 32, which is represented here, you know, all of the end of the anime is represented in here, along with a little tease or prologue to the next arc. So, let me know what you guys think. I'm excited. I don't know anything that's coming up. I don't, besides the fact that Kurapika comes back. And obviously the next arc is called the Dark Continent arc, so I'm assuming that they go there. But besides that, I don't really know anything. So let me know what you guys think down below. Comment, subscribe, give this video a thumbs up. Like I said, check out that Chimera Ant video too, and I'll have more reviews in the future.